Hey, my name's Leon,
I'm Pablo.
and we're here at Geekdom as part of San Antonio Startup Week with Rikky Moller. He is the CEO of Once in a Wild.
That's correct. Yes. Hi.
Perfect. Really excited to actually talk today. I kind of did some digging. I believe you did a pitch comp, right?
I did.
Okay.
Yes.
How did that kind of were you just down here for San Antonio Startup Week, or were you walking by?
I knew about it because I saw a post online that you guys were going to be doing it. I didn't know how it was going to happen, but I just happened to be walking down from the library down to Geekdom, and I saw somebody walking with the sign said $1,000 pitch. I was like, hey, we'll do it. And that was it, and we just went for it really quick and a little nervous. I messed it up, but it was okay.
Oh, that was good. I watched it, and it comes to get here is it's a jump from just anybody out there. So you've made it. You want to tell us about the business?
Yes.
What is it? If you've got an elevator pitch, if you want to do that again.
I do, yes.
No pressure.
Yes. So Once in a While is an educational program that brings the zoo to you. What that means is whether it's for school, which is the majority of the work that we do is educational, right? We want to inspire kids to study STEM, be biologists, zoologists. So we put together a program that is created for teachers by teachers that is TEKS aligned. What that TEKS is, for those who don't live in Texas, is Texas Educational Knowledge System, which is a bunch of different lessons that the kids need to learn before they go into standardized testing, right? That's how they learn. So we basically are creating these interactive programs that the teachers can use, whether it's to supplement, to get them to do more hands-on. But the majority of the work that we've been doing has been with after-school programs, right? So we do a lot of after-school programs for kids that love animals, and they get to meet a lot of animals up close. So for those who really want to study biology, it's like a gift, right? But we also do birthday parties, fun team building experiences. We work with animal therapy, so we bring animals to hospitals, to senior homes, where people can pet the animals, and we see a lot of joy. We see a lot of kids just glowing when they meet the animals. We've seen kids that have disabilities, right, if they're in the spectrum. Sometimes they're non-speaking, sometimes they don't have motor control, and we bring animals and we see a completely different person, right? We see them talking, we see them, holding their composture. It's great. It's just lots of joy. It's a benefit to do what we do. Yeah.
Well, I did the background, and I was mentioning this earlier. I heard you guys talking a little bit on just the intros, and I looked at your website. The one, my wife was like, "Oh my gosh, I know who they are. That's super cool." And I was like, "Okay." And then I started looking at the website. I was like, "Ooh, really beautiful brand." Even here, you've got it.
Yeah.
You've got it through.
And
that's an oxalotl.
It is an axolotl, yes.
It's such a cool
Beautiful.
animal, but it's just such a cool one. I love it because of Minecraft.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that comes to mind is the Minecraft. I've got the nerd in me that jumps to it.
I love that because every year or so there's a new animal that everybody is like, oh, this is the new animal. A few years it was like sloths, and everybody loves sloths, and then it's like axolotls. And so video games, movies, they'll start bringing, awareness to these animals.
Cultural change.
Yeah.
Which is, and a lot of times, axolotls are very cultural because they're Mexican, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of this is because these animals are super endangered, right?
Yeah, right.
A lot of people don't know that axolotls, there's only a few hundred left in the wild.
In
right?
Xochimilco.
In Xochimilco,
That's
yes.
right.
Very small canal system in Mexico City, right? Which is destroyed by humans, and so there's not a lot of places for them to live. So I was bringing awareness to them, and kids were playing on Minecraft, right? And then they'll come to the school and they go, I've seen that on Minecraft.
Yeah.
I know everything. So that sparks curiosity on the kids, and then they start going on Google and
Right.
finding YouTube videos, and then next thing you know, it's like, oh, I can have it as a pet. Okay, let me take care of it. And so those little things are kind of inspiring kids that may have not known, like, oh, I can do this for a living. Like, I can study axolotls, see what their adaptations are, see how they get to regrow their arm. You know, they can regrow their brain. Like, they can.
Wow. I knew the like appendages or certain things.
They can regrow any part of their body. So that means they're cancer free. They can, you know, if we could just get a hold of those powers, right? Man, like, we could have people that lose an arm, they can grow another one. I mean, how cool is that? Like, your spine.
Yeah.
I mean, brain diseases, like, you know.
They're very hard to find too. I mean, I think you have to go to Houston or something like that to like to be able to purchase one if you wanted to. I don't know if it's about San Antonio.
There's some pet stores. So the good thing is that in the pet trade, there's millions of them. Oh, sorry. there's millions of them. In the wild, there's not a lot.
Interesting.
And so what could happen eventually is it becomes extinct, and then we only have it as a pet, right? Which also means very poor genetic material because there's very limited breeding.
Right. Sure.
That's why there's so many that come in different colors that you would never see in the wild because those would never survive, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing as domesticated rabbits or guinea pigs. Like, you won't find one in the wild, right? We have them as pets, and that's it. Even though you can use them for farming, you can have them for kind of stuff.
So I went to Mexico City in the spring with my family, and we went to Xochimilco. And what the guide told us, which was incredible, he said that all of Mexico City was just an island in the middle of this vast, river, or not river, lake. What's the name of the lake, dude?
It's the lake is.
It's not Teotihuacan or anything like that. No,
I forget.
No, it's not. I don't know. I'm not Mexican. I'm Costa Rican, but I love Mexico City. In fact, I'm going there next week. But the interesting fact that I learned was that when Mexico City was drained, now Xochimilco is all that's left, and it's only 10% of what it once was. So everything that's been, and now of course the city has a ton of issues with lack of water, right?
Well, they also have earthquakes because of it. Because they built it on the lake.
On the lake bed. That's correct. But we're talking about now, just social responsibility. You're doing it through education. But obviously we're only talking about axolotls right now. But you obviously work with a number of different animals, and specifically here in San Antonio, where we have a very, very big and stray animal population. So tell us about your work with that.
So well, before I move into that, I will.
Yes.
We were talking about the brand.
Yes. I was more interested in the brand because I heard a marketing background.
I do. So before this, I worked as a creative director at multiple different agencies, working in campaigns for everything from Western Union, Capital One, Coca-Cola, you name it, all kinds of stuff. And so when we started our brand, we're from San Antonio. We love San Antonio. We love Texas. I'm Mexican. So we wanted a brand that didn't look like every other animal brand out there. So everybody has greens. They look like they come out of Africa, with the patterns, the animal patterns or the footprints.
The safari kind of,
Safari. And when I think of safari, I think of hunting, killing. I think of, I don't think of conservation. I don't think of, I think of dangerous animals, and our brand is the complete opposite, right? We don't like to hunt. we appreciate people that hunt. It's okay. But we wanted to feel like San Antonio, like fiesta, like a celebration of animals, right? Like alebrijes, right? Which is your animal spirit animals, right?
So you know what an alebrije is?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and so these animals now become kind of like a person, right? So when you have this connection with an animal, all of a sudden you start your curiosity, right? Like with the axolotl, like where do they come from? What do they eat? How do they survive? Oh, what can I do in my backyard for these animals? Can I maybe not put weed killer because I know other rabbits are going to come here and eat this stuff? Okay, what things can I do, right? And with this, we inspire the kids, right, to make a difference, right? So if they have a pet, right, how do I take care of them? How long should it live? Because a lot of people like, oh God, this is so sad, but we get people that come and they want to share, oh, I used to have a guinea pig. Oh, really? You know, how long did you have it? Oh, 3 years and it died. I was like, well, that's supposed to live for 15. So what did you do? You know?
I did not know 15.
I had no idea.
And so a lot of times, you know, I know they're trying to share and telling you how amazing these animals are, but proper care for your animal, whether it's your cat, your dog, you know, you need to know that you need to vaccinate, that you need to neuter, that you need to spay, that you need to keep them indoors, right? You don't just let them out without a leash. Like, you don't take them to a park unless they're neutered, right?
Yeah,
like,
of course.
Little things like that, or learn to train your animals, right? Like we have over 100 animals, all of them have training, right? Some sort of training. Even our snakes, right? We train them when it's time to eat, right? So then when we play with them, they're not biting us.
They're not,
right? Same thing with the dog. You train our dogs, we train them to stay within our area, right? They don't go out. Even if I open the dog, even if I open the doors, they don't get out.
Right.
And so this little training that you can do with your animals helps so much in the city, because San Antonio has one of the largest, you know, euthanasia numbers in all of the United States.
Wow.
Why? Because people don't train their dogs. They just let them out. You have them roaming around, you know, lots of lost dogs that don't have their chip. They don't, you know, and they're not trained, so they go and bite somebody. They're not socialized, because people think it's so cute to go rah, rah, with your dog, right? Let them bark, It's like you're teaching them to be violent and to go out and bite somebody.
How much do you think that's cultural?
A lot of it is not just. I don't think it's cultural. I think it's what do you call it when you personify an animal as a human, and they're not a human, they're a dog. So they think like a dog. They don't think like a human.
Right.
So if we think of, oh, this is my baby, I'm not going to neuter him. What? I wouldn't neuter my baby, but it's not a baby. It's a dog.
Yeah.
So you're harming more than you're helping, right?
Yeah.
Because that dog is. Think about it this way: if I have to go and search for a female, I'm gonna go crazy. I'm gonna bark. I'm gonna shout. I'm gonna pee everywhere.
You're gonna be angry,
I'm gonna be really angry. So
Sure.
what's the point? You're not gonna breed them, like.
No.
And if you breed them, you better have a license to breed, right? So there's a lot of
course,
people just breeding the animals everywhere. So and the government can only do so much. Right?
Of course,
and as humans, we are the ones that should be putting more attention to that. So that's where we come in, go into the schools. We teach the kids not just the typical things that they would learn in the school, right? Which is biomes, and, you know, what are mammals and what are reptiles, and, you know, all the classifications and adaptations. But they also get to learn, what does a zookeeper do? What does a vet do? You know, what does an animal care services person do? Right.
Sure.
So that way they, one, can appreciate, but also maybe inspired to get into a career like that.
Right.
And then lastly, we teach them how to take care of their pets, right? So, hey, what would be a good pet for me, right? That I'm 10 years old, should I get a tortoise? Tortoise is going to live for 70 years. Like, is that the best pet for me? Or is it a guinea pig? Or, well, I have to buy 2 guinea pigs because they're social animals, right? How much space do they need? What kind of food should I get? We get a lot of rescues, because we rescue a lot of animals too. And some of the rescues that we bring in are like tortoises that have been fed the wrong food, right? So tortoises are vegetarian, they're herbivores.
Right.
And people will feed them protein, right? And so what happens is their shell, their beak starts overgrowing, and they get, you know, they get in really, really bad shape, right? And so there's a lot of things that people don't think when they buy a pet, because they go to a pet store and they go,
Right.
here's your pet list of the things, but I do no research. I've never,
You don't have the education.
it's impulse
do that.
buying.
Right.
You know? That's why I think it's more educational rather than cultural, because you
Mhm.
see it in every single culture.
Sure.
There's not one culture that does it more than others.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So our job really as citizens of San Antonio would be to like, what can I do, right?
Mhm.
And there's like little things that everyone can do.
Sure.
Like, don't like even adopting a pet, like that's good for your health. Like everyone should have one,
Yeah,
right?
I just did that
Yeah.
about 3 months ago. Not even 3 months ago. We adopted from Snipsa
Yeah.
a little puppy, Grady. He's
Grady. I did not know the name.
Grady, yeah, he's a gray mutt, and he's a great one. That's why we call him Grady. But anyway, he's chewed up everything in our house. But we have been prepared, and we knew, and we've had dogs for many years, so at least we understand that. But I do have a question
Yeah.
about rabbits. I have a
Yeah.
rabbit. I ended up getting the rabbit the typical way most adults get rabbits. It's not because I love my rabbits or anything like that. It's because my son said, "Oh, I want a rabbit,
Yeah.
and I'll take care of it, and I'll do it." Guess who takes care of the rabbit?
You do.
I do. And now I'm like looking at the rabbit and saying, "Hey, this rabbit is indoors like all the time. He doesn't get any sun. He doesn't, and I'm thinking, I want to set up a pen outside." And you can find information online,
Yeah.
but as far as like the ideal living standard,
Yeah.
like there just isn't enough
So-
information out there, even for well-meaning people. I
Yeah.
feel like there's an education gap almost.
So I'll tell you a story, not with a rabbit. I'll tell you how to take care of a rabbit. in a second, right?
Sure.
But before I met my wife, I
Uh-huh.
had never had a pet
Yeah.
ever. Like this was 10 years ago.
Mhm.
I had my first dog before I met my wife.
Yeah.
Little Schnauzer. I thought he was the cutest thing ever. He really got me out of my funk and got me to go out, and really great for my mental health.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know how to train it, how to feed it correctly, how to, all the stuff. I went on YouTube and started doing my own research.
Mm-hmm.
What I found out is that if I search, should I neuter my dog? I could get two answers, right? One could
Mhm.
say, no, don't. That's terrible, right? And
Right.
another one could say, yes, you should do
Mm.
it. Which one is the correct one,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Well, if I'm a professional breeder, I don't need to. I know how to educate my dog, or
Of
I
course,
may be
right.
breeding, right? But if I'm just like a normal person,
Mm-hmm.
right? How do I know what to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's hard. You can't just go to your vet or to your, you have to find a professional.
Yeah.
And so, cats, dogs, regardless of what pet you get, you have to go to a professional. Ask them, how do you take care of it? What should you do? We have our lines open. If
Mhm.
anyone wants to give us a call on how to take care of their pet, we'll gladly do it for free.
What's that line? What's the best way to reach you?
So I don't know. You know what? Just go on www.onceinawild.com and
That's
Yeah.
once in a wild with a D.
Yes, wild.
I'll put it in the
W-I-L-D.
show notes
Yeah.
too, so that
Yeah.
everyone does it.
so great about your rabbit.
The rabbit,
right?
yes.
So you definitely have to rabbit-proof a full room, because
Mhm.
they're going to use the whole room. So make sure no cables, nothing that they can bite, no
Yeah.
furniture,
Mhm.
or put padding on your furniture. They need a lot of mouth stimulation because
Yeah.
they regrow their teeth, so they need to be constantly chewing on stuff. So
Sure.
lots of toys, like wooden toys,
Mhm.
things that you would buy for birds or something like that. You can
Yeah.
put them all over. They can be potty trained,
Mhm.
so you can put
Yeah.
their hay, and that's where they come in eat. And as long as you have a little space where they go to the bathroom, and you can
Yeah.
close it at night so they can sleep there, so that
Mhm.
way they're not roaming everywhere.
Sure.
Kind of like a mini kennel.
Yeah.
They don't really need a ton of outside time.
Okay.
You can if you set it up a little
Like a pen or something, yeah.
but they can jump real high
Sure.
and they can run real fast.
Uh-huh.
They can escape in 2 seconds and
Yeah.
get eaten by something.
Right.
A hawk could pick them up. So
Uh-huh.
I would keep them indoors. I mean,
yeah.
And again, every animal is different.
Sure. Yeah, but it's funny because like when you go to like a Petco or PetSmart or
they're not
any,
going
you
to
know,
tell you any of that.
not only that, but when they sell the pens, they're not big at all.
No.
You know, and they don't. You know, you don't realize that's just something for temporary. You know, you do need to set up a space for them. But I think in general, I mean, you know, just touching on the education. I mean, you're a creative, right? This is obviously a passion for you and your wife, right? You started Once in a While with your wife as well, right?
It started off as a passion. Now it's a business.
Now it's a business.
Yeah.
So tell me about how that sort of came to be.
We started, I mean, we both had jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And on the side, we would rescue animals. We would do birthday parties with the animals that we had rescued. And then that collection just started growing.
Mm-hmm.
COVID hit, and right before COVID, because I do advertising and marketing, I know people on TV, so we got on TV. We were doing a morning show, and during the morning show, they announced COVID hit, right? And so everybody comes back home. We're like, oh, this will be a week. Give it a week. Give it 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, 2 months. Everybody lost their jobs. We're like, what do we do? Well, I mean, we didn't need money, but we had all these animals, and we needed to keep educating people. So we started doing a live stream online where we would have people come on the show and talk about animals, kind of like Jimmy Fallon with the crocodile hunter, right? Kind of like,
right.
So we would invite local influencers and stuff, and that got us on the news. Again, like, you know, Mobile Zoo goes virtual for schools, and we started doing a lot of school programs, right? And so that got us into classrooms. I have a cousin of mine that works in ed tech, and so she looked at what we had, and she's like, oh, you should really think about go create a TEKS-aligned program, put it in front of teachers. They're looking for stuff like this all the time because there's no one out there. I mean, there's a lot of STEM programs for robotics, for coding. You know, you see Code Ninjas, and you see all these the bricks. You know, but there's nothing for biology. There's no one out there coming and saying, "Hey, these are adaptations. These are all the natural sciences."
Yeah.
And so we started focusing on that. We put together the packages. We started working on contracts. So now we have contracts with North Side School District, with Northeast Side, with South Side, and we're just starting to keep growing, right? Our goal is our big, hairy, audacious goal is to, hopefully create franchises where we can have serving different school districts and just focusing on that. There's a company out of Canada called Mad Science. And they do the same, but for chemistry, right, and STEM. And that's kind of, they're owned by Crayola, I think. I'm not sure. But, that's kind of the goal, right? Like, how can we bring biology, make it fun and entertaining, and put it in front of the schools? The other thing that we're working towards is having a brick-and-mortar, which is not going to be a zoo. We're not a zoo. We will never be a zoo. Our goal is not to breed endangered animals. That's the zoo job.
Sure.
Our job is education, 100%, right? We focus on schools and serving the schools and, families too, birthday parties and companies. We do a lot of work for marketing as experiential. So we work with DMCs, which are destination management companies. Right, they put together all the conventions for the doctors, the engineers, and all that stuff.
Like the convention and visitors bureaus and things like that.
Yeah. So we work with Visit San Antonio in bringing these really awesome experiential, and I'll show you some videos. But we basically bring a pen where people can come in and put animals in their laps and start petting them, and we have big giant rabbits. If you've never seen a giant rabbit, dude, it is the coolest thing ever.
I saw one. There was a video of it was a Brazilian holding this massive rabbit, literally the size of like your whole torso, all from head to like your knees. It's so huge.
Cool. We have two of them.
You have two of them? I want to see that. That's amazing.
They're like this big.
Wow.
Like, not kidding.
They eat a ton, I bet, too.
No,
They
just a
don't.
little hay.
Really?
Not that much.
Interesting.
Little pellets. No, but they're like 20-pound rabbits. They're huge.
Man.
And
That's
so-
like a full-size dog.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
not kidding.
Yeah.
And so these rabbits, the people just, if you're in a convention and you want activations, right? You want
Mhm.
people to come in, give you their information, take some pictures.
Mhm.
So it's perfect because we bring the like over 20 some animals, and the people get to hold them, take photos. It's so before this, when I was working for Capital One, we would do experiential work at South by Southwest,
Mhm.
and at the that event would take us a whole year of planning, right? Because everything was experiential, everything was tech, so you had to build all the technology that goes with it.
Yeah.
Out of all the super expensive high tech VR, things that we would put out, we would also do like photo booths and art installations, and then we would have some sort of animal, right? Whether it be like cute goats or a monkey or a sloth.
Mhm.
Every year, the most popular thing we would have would be the animals.
Mhm.
Like, all the high tech stuff was great, it got you talking, but the most activations, the biggest lines were with the animals.
Mhm.
So for us, we do that like at every single event. Like, we'll have an event, and I kid you not, like, we do Christmas events,
Mhm.
right? And Santa will be on one side, and we brought like a little tortoise, right? Little tortoise. We put it there. Take a photo with a tortoise. The line for the tortoise,
Was longer than Santa?
2-3 times longer than Santa. People
That's
love
awesome.
animals.
Yeah,
They
they
just
do.
love them, and you could have Santa, and you can bring all the princesses and the Spider-Man dressed up, but the most popular thing will always be the animals.
Mhm.
Always, they're just animals are. I think our connection to the world, like
Yeah.
they hold the DNA that will one day cure every disease. They hold the cure to us understanding the environment and how to take care of it.
Mhm.
So, I mean, and as a business, we're always trying to figure out ways to make money so that we can bring out more
Continue
programs,
doing it,
and continue
sure.
doing more things.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
On the business part, now you said not a zoo,
Not
but
a
you
zoo.
do rescue, and
We do.
and then on the flip side, you use a commercial part of the business to fund that, or is there like a nonprofit entity sitting there?
So
or
right
like,
now, we don't have a nonprofit side. We're working on figuring out a legal way
Mhm.
and an ethical way to do it.
Okay.
Mhm.
Because we didn't set it up as a nonprofit for two reasons. Because one, we wanted an exit at some
Mhm.
point.
Mhm.
We don't think we can keep doing this forever, right? We
Mhm.
wanted to make sure that the person that would take over would be good. Operationally is a lot easier for us to manage the animals, even though we do have a really high, overhead, because
Mhm.
we do have to take care of the animals whether they work or not.
Sure, sure.
But nonprofit, you have to have a board.
Yeah.
You have to, there's so many regulations, and a lot, because we do work with a lot of nonprofits, and we do work with a lot of other organizations that take care of animals. We know the struggles they have,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And a lot of times that ends up affecting the animals, right? Whether you have to euthanize more animals,
Mhm.
or you cannot, for example, we rescue an animal and it's a forever home. They
Mhm.
stay with us forever,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
And there are some animals that we don't know if they're going to be good in a program, right?
Sure.
Can they make us some money? And I know it sounds terrible,
That's
that-
the
but
nature
it
of
is-
business,
No,
of course.
yeah.
right? But in another organization, they would say, well, we can't feed them, and it's not working. We have to euthanize, right? Because no one's going to rescue that animal. Like, you have to euthanize.
Right.
We don't. With us, we go, okay, well, we'll have a loss, like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
or we'll have to let go of some employees.
So with the website,
Mhm.
I mean, you have plenty of information about, the organization.
Yeah.
What about like the stories of the animals, and like you were talking
Yeah.
about doing the live stream and things like that? You know, I think people they have almost like social media followings. Animals do now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And do you have anything like that
We
for
do.
any of your animals?
So we do, and we don't. We mostly focus on the educational part of the animal. So we definitely do have like a page for every animal, or a little video
Right.
that talks
Sure.
about, what is this animal.
Mhm.
The main reason that we don't, I think when people come in person, we definitely do say, hey, this is Sandor or Rabbit, right? And people will remember that and come back and
Sure.
say, oh, where's Sandor, right? I remember Prince as the snake, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, some of these animals won't live as long as we do.
Right.
And so we internally we kind of say, okay, well, this is the animal, but externally we just focus on the species, right?
Right.
And so people would just focus on what the species is and not on the animal, but we do want that personalization as much as we can.
You can do the tortoise.
We do. Yes.
That one will outlast all of us.
Yes.
Many
Yes.
times.
And we have 5 of them, so I'm
Oh, wow.
sure.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, I mean, I think you're right about the connection. I mean, I was talking to Carmen, my wife, earlier today about how she like baby talks,
Yeah.
every animal we have. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, why are you doing that? It's like you love that animal more than you love it, me and the 2 boys. And she's like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. See, before meeting my wife, I had no animals.
Mm-hmm.
And so snakes, spiders, you're like, gross. I'm not touching that. Like, never. Like, those are my favorite. Like, I like the spiders. I like the snakes.
Yeah.
And you would imagine, like, oh, those animals are not relaxing. They'll make you more nervous. But no, they're super therapeutic. Like,
Yeah.
I can hold a snake all day, and it's like the coolest feeling ever. Like, feeling their muscles move.
Sure.
A lot of the textures they have, like, you don't really think about. Or even like a spider, like holding it and knowing how fragile it is. How it could just fall down and break. Like,
Sure.
so like, I think that as humans, we're put on this earth to protect, right? Our families, or our cities, but also, nature and animals.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think having a pet, is kind of like having a baby, right? Like, you're taking care of them, and it kind of gives you purpose,
Sure.
And
Well, I can certainly relate to your point about the reptiles. I mean, I didn't grow up around reptiles, and then similar to the bunny, we ended up getting a bearded dragon
nice.
And that became. I mean, the Beardy and I, his name is Bernie,
Nice.
Bernie the Beardy, and we bonded,
Yeah.
right? So I fed him. He would, like, if I would work, he would like be on my
Yeah,
shoulder.
that's the best.
I would put him somewhere else, and he would find me and climb up my leg, and I'd be on the computer, and he'd be, But it's interesting that you don't realize that warm-blooded or cold-blooded, it doesn't matter, right? You form that bond, and they form a bond with you. And people just, they just make the assumption that only cats and dogs or other warm-blooded animals will have that bond with you, and that's not true at all.
And that's a great point. A big part of something that San Antonio could do to not have a cat and dog problem is, hey, there's reptiles, there's birds, there's all kinds of pets that you can have.
Right.
Insects, bugs, like, those are cool too. Like, we have roaches, like, those are the coolest pets. 'Cause they're so easy to take care of.
And they're big in San Antonio.
Yeah, but a lot of times, like, as you grow up, right, you get a job, you work, 40, 50 hours a week, and who has time for a pet,
Right.
Well, maybe not for a dog, but you could have a snake.
Sure.
You only have to feed it once a week, and you can leave it at home, and as long as you give them a little bit of water, they'll be fine, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So it's like there's alternative pets that you can get.
Sure.
Other things that
That are more adaptable.
Yeah, I like
right?
that because I think COVID, a lot of folks got dogs. They were always home. Now they're back to offices. How do you manage that? But there's other animals. I have aquariums.
Yeah.
I love that. They're a little hard to manage from time to time, but easier than a dog. You don't have to worry about in, out. You just got to change water and feed and all of that. But there is alternatives to those pets and snakes and spiders.
And doesn't it make you, like, having that tank doesn't kind of give you a little purpose? Like you kind of get up.
There's something to
and
do,
you're like,
and I'll see. I'll see something, or the temp's off, or the water's low. I'm like, I feel bad for them. I'm like, I haven't done a water change, and for this month, I'm like, okay, it's getting close. I'm gonna do it now. So there's a lot of that. It's
probably
a connection.
therapeutic too, right?
Probably, yeah. It gives me something to do, and something like monotonous-y that you're just thinking like, oh, where are the fish? Making sure count the fish.
Right.
Try to count the fish.
Sure.
Am I missing one? Oh no, they're hiding. All of that. Kind of as we wrap, the question we always ask everybody is really around advice you would give to other entrepreneurs. You had a non-traditional start in this business, and I think you've really found some success. I think COVID helped in some ways through that streams, and then you're very passionate about it. You know it. Yeah. I heard that your wife has a background in zoos and working with animals. So there's that. But what would you tell other founders if they're just getting started out, especially in this building? What is that advice?
Man. That I'm probably like not the appropriate person to be giving business advice. This is what I do think is that if you are going to be going into business, you can't be all wishy-washy. You just have to just go for it and learn a lot. There's so many accelerators. There's so many. There's also a lot of bad advice. One thing that I kind of understood right away was that regardless of what business you are, nobody knows what they're doing. Everybody's. A lot of it is luck. Mm-hmm. A lot of it is being in the right place at the right time, and be really good with your money. Save. Because every business owner, the number one problem I always hear is lack of capital. We need more capital.
Right.
And so if you really learn the finance aspect, the managing, the leadership, that's the hardest part. But regardless of what you do, it's hard. This is a tough business. It's really, really hard. So you have to be super passionate and work 80 hours and find other similar-minded people to kind of because the hardest part I think with any leadership is the mental part, right? The mental health where you. I don't care how many people tell me oh, we're successful. In my mind, we're not. We're such a tiny little, and we could be on TV, and that doesn't mean anything, right? Or you could have a little bit of money, and that means nothing.
Right.
It's tough. But yeah, advice. There's tons of advice. I would take it with a grain of salt, and I would definitely focus on an accelerator. Right now we're doing an accelerator with Goldman Sachs that has been crucial to our growth. We've been learning so much. So things like that are always, that's usually where I start. And don't think that just because you get a big giant loan it's gonna mean anything. Yeah. It's tough.
Sure.
Well,
yeah.
I appreciate that, and I believe in that advice. You as a business owner, you as that person getting the advice has to have a filter.
Yeah.
Is it applicable? Is there some right here? Is there something I can apply? And making sure that because you could sit in I'm sure that there's mentors within the Goldman Sachs program. One mentor says does this, the other one says does do it this way, and you have to figure out what is going to be best to whoever your stakeholders are. In your case, you've got animals, you've got employees, you've got yourself, and in a lot of other cases, they've got employees or they've got team members, there might be customers, investors. So there's always a give and a take, and sometimes you have to figure out who it is. And in your case, I loved it's the animals. The animals come first here, no matter what, through the business. That's why I'd asked even about a nonprofit, because I was like, it's seems a little bit in that case, but I also know and I've seen how hard it is to do a nonprofit, how hard it is to do that, and then even the rules around it, what you can market, how you can charge, and all of that is fascinating. So that you've built a business on that is a really interesting push.
I think if we acted more like a rescue, that would make sense. But because we're an educational company, like and our goal is to kind of get into like the ed tech, the experiential education field, and so that to me seems more a for-profit. It's a service. Like we're not. I mean, we rescue animals, but we're not a rescue. Like the way that I see it is like depending on what we need the animal to do, right? So if we need an animal to be educated to perform a certain thing, then sometimes we need to go through a breeder because those animals were bred to do that function, right? And then there's some animals that, like guinea pigs. Well, I don't need to go buy me a new guinea pig. I can go to the guinea pig rescue and, rescue a bunch of them, and that's usually better. Or a reptile, we'll go through a reptile rescue because an older reptile I will know what kind of personality they have, right?
Sure.
If they're going to be good in front of kids. Where some reptiles, you get them as a baby and you don't know what you're going to get.
Right. Yeah, right. Absolutely. For sure.
Yeah.
So,
well, thank you very much for joining us today, Rikky.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
We look forward to seeing more growth from Once in a Wild, and we'll put the information on show notes, and anyone that's interested in finding out more information, visit the Boost for this episode and look in the show notes, and you can reach Once in a Wild.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right.